Hello and welcome back to TGTV, and more specifically, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a rural area and my 992 Turbo S. You can see just peeping over my shoulder there. I've now had some time to digest this car. I've done 1,000 miles in it. I've driven the length of the country in it on Mobile UK. So it's now time to put a first drive video together. I didn't want to do a first drive video just driving around YouTube Square. I wanted to get to grips with the car, really learn about it, and really get to grips with what it's like to live with. So without further waffle, I'm going to get off this bench and let's get on with the video. As you can see then, it is fresh from Mobile. Fresh not even being the operative word, to be honest here, because it is absolutely coated in mud, crap, crud, whatever you want to call it. It is absolutely disgusting. It is in a right state and it has not been cleaned since. It's literally just got off a truck, and I thought, whilst my memories of this car and all the driving roads and the Peak District and the Lake District and all that kind of stuff is fresh in my mind, I wanted to go through absolutely everything with this car and what it's like to live with, and whether or not it's actually worth the money, because 180 grand for this is quite a lot of cash for a 911. And there's a lot of people that love the Turbo S, but there's a lot of people out there that say this car is boring, it's sterile, it's too expensive, and it's just a 911. Well, I actually, shock horror, disagree with that. I was actually worried about all of those things when I bought this car. I was worried that it was going to be a little bit sterile, going to be a little bit boring, but I'm pleased to report that that's not actually the case. So we're going to jump in then. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's get in here. Get those door handles to pop out. Thank you very much. Let's get her fired up. Oh. Let's get on the move. Before we kick off then, this video is brought to you by BOTB. You will have undoubtedly heard of BOTB by now, but they are the dream car giveaway company. They've given away over £34 million worth of cars to hundreds of winners. And for this week only, for a very limited time, you will get 50 grand in cash added to your prize. Not only that, but your prize can be one of these, a 992 Turbo S. So a 992 Turbo S and up to 50 grand in cash for an entry fee of just £3. You can enter below via the link. Good luck, and if you win a 992 Turbo S for £3 and 50 grand, well, I'm going to be a little bit jealous, to be honest with you. So good luck. Make sure you enter that. The link is below. Of course, entering and clicking the link below supports the channel. And also, you can, of course, win 50 grand and a 992 Turbo S for just £3. You've got to be 17 or over to enter. And if you don't like the 992 Turbo S, A, there's something wrong with you, but B, there are 180 other cars to choose from. The lineup is absolutely ridiculous, so make sure you hit the site and go and check out all of the cars they have on offer. Good luck with that, and let's get on with the video. Before I go, actually, it'd be helpful if I told you when the competition ended. It's the 20th of September, so that's this Sunday. Make sure you get your tickets before then, otherwise you can't win the 50 grand in cash. You will get the usual 20 grand in cash, so 50 is a bigger number than 20. So 20th of September, this Sunday, get your tickets in before then, and good luck. So here we go then. Fairly horrible little car park. We're in basically a supercar. Horrible bumpy car park. Awful incline on the way in. Uneven ground. Rocks everywhere. No wheel spin. No scraping. Nothing. Just out of here. Lovely stuff. Lift down again. No issues whatsoever, no stress, nothing. Wouldn't have got in there in my Pista. Wouldn't have fancied it at all. F12, probably not at all. This, no problem whatsoever. It's the same story for like even NCP car parks, multi-stories, you know, car parks in supermarkets, all the rest of it. Absolutely fine. We're in normal mode at the moment. We've got wing down. We've actually got lift up still. It's a very, very civilized car. We've got start stop on. Driving along now, it's just driving like a Volkswagen Golf basically, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's literally just driving like a normal car. You can have a conversation in here, you can see out of every window, you know where you are, the steering feels very kind of direct and just normal. You don't feel on edge at all. There's a little bit of road noise, but other than that, this could be pretty much any other car. You shut your eyes now, well, it's probably not advisable. It could be pretty much any other car. Very, very easy to live with driving wise. Even practicality wise, you've got quite a lot of space in the front. You've obviously got your back seats there, which are big enough for an adult on a small journey, to be honest. You can fold most people in there. but if you've got a couple of Archies or some women, you can shove them in there and they will fit more than happily. I wouldn't advise a 4-hour journey, but you can take your mates to the pub or down the road or whatever it is you want to do. Not in a group of more than 6, of course, now. But when you're sick of driving around in a normal car, being normal, doing normal things, doing normal speeds, and not hurting your neck, you can change it into Sport Plus, put it in manual. Oh, bloody hell. You can do that. It's offensive. It's actually offensive how fast this car is. Instantly, you will hear one of the main grievances of the Turbo S has been addressed. It sounds good. You get a lot of flat 6 behind you. That's because you don't get the 3-litre twin turbo that you get in the normal 911s. You get a 3.8 litre in there. So there's more engine and there's more noise. They have improved the sound immeasurably over the last generation. My brother had the previous generation and this car has improved on it hugely. You get that characteristic Porsche 911 flat 6 noise, and you also get chaotic turbo whooshes over the top of it as well. So all in all, it's good news. It is a good news story on the noise front, the engine sound front. Anyway, as I touched on before, you do get a lot of road noise. Now, it's not unbearable, it's not unmanageable. It does add to the feeling though of a kind of more visceral experience. It just feels like a more engaging experience. You can hear more of what's going on. You can even hear more in the downshifts, the brutal PDK downshifts. You can hear more of what's going on in the gearbox. There's more clunking, there's more whirring, and that's something I think Porsche have listened to from previous people having a go at the Turbo S. People wanted something a little bit more raw. Indeed, now I'm in Sport Plus mode. That engages PDCC, which is the dynamic chassis control, which kind of gives you a little bit less roll, but stiffens up the suspension. Even that feels a bit more crashy now. You can turn it off, but it feels a lot more like a GT product. It really is a huge, huge amount more exciting than my brother's Turbo S before he fiddled around with it. Honestly, any concerns I had about this car being boring, being sterile, feeling like kind of the 911 version of something like an RS6, completely out the window. On its edge, it is absolutely ridiculous. You don't feel quite as safe as you did in the previous Turbo S either. I don't know if that's a mental thing or what, but it really does feel a little bit closer to the edge, a little bit more spiky, and a little bit less like something you can just completely 100% rely on all of the time. And now that sounds like a bad thing, but that actually adds to the excitement. I might sound like a moron now, but it is genuinely a very exciting car. Aside from the obvious ridiculous pace, this thing's been clocking quarter miles in what, 10.1 seconds. It's been wiping the floor with Taycan Turbo S's, 720S's, SVJs, you name it. I don't think I've ever seen this losing a drag race to anything, bar maybe a 918 I've seen on YouTube at some point. But this really is, the pacing is just absolutely staggering. And it really begs the question, what on earth am I doing having something like a Pista when I have this? This is arguably faster, way more usable, it's half the price. The residuals, probably on par with each other because Pistas have dropped a little bit. This has 2 more seats, it's more comfortable, it costs less to run. If you bash anything on it as well, the parts don't really cost much. You got the front splitter that comes out of Sport Plus mode. It doesn't cost anything, it's probably a couple £100. And the brakes on this actually feel better than the Pista as well. They feel more reliable in that you can just jump on them. It doesn't matter if they're that warm, they just work. They're actually painful how well they work. That grip and that shunt is just addictive. You can't drive one of these sensibly. Well, not if you've got less than 3 brain cells like me. It's absolutely ridiculous. Everything in it just inspires confidence, you know, the brakes, the grip, the instant torque, you know, you've got both turbos just giving you shove whenever you want it. It doesn't really matter which rev range you're in. It's absolute carnage. I really think with this car, Porsche have gone from, you know, a really kind of top-end sports car with the Turbo S in the previous generation to pretty much now being a supercar. I know, it is just a 911, but it really isn't. The sum of its parts, it really is a supercar. It's got a lot more presence now. The exterior has come along as well. You instantly know it's a Turbo S, whereas previous generations, a little bit less aggressive. Certainly the 991.1 and 0.2 were a little bit kind of lackluster possibly in the styling department, but this really has come on leaps and bounds, particularly if you now order it with the Aero kit. It looks a lot more aggressive. The Aero kit's not actually for me, but it does look a little bit more aggy, which was again a complaint of the previous Turbo S generation. People said, you know, it was too much of a sleeper. When you're spending that kind of money on a car, you don't want something that completely blends in. You want a couple of nods to, you know, this thing does 0 to 60 in 2 point something seconds and it's pretty much faster than anything on the road. Right, let's find some twisties then and see what's going on. You can hear that. The previous ones didn't do that. It just sounds ridiculous. So then, second gear. It's pretty much it's too much car for most roads. It's absolute hell. So we're in Sport Plus manual mode now as well. One thing I would say about manual, it's obviously got the PDK gearbox, which is unbelievable, an 8-speed PDK gearbox. It works amazingly. The shifts are so smooth, it's pretty much like a tone change, but there is a bit more jolt in it than I can remember in previous PDKs. I don't know whether I'm just imagining it, but it seems like they factored in a bit of a kind of jolt. I don't know if that's me going mental, but it feels a little bit more kind of, I don't know, just kind of like race car-y. It's a lot of fun, and I just again think it's just one of those little kind of sneaky things that Porsche's kind of tweaked in to really feed some more excitement into this model. The only thing I would say with running around in manual mode, Sport Plus, and really giving it the beans, gears 1, 2 and 3, you really need to be on the paddles and very, very good with them to catch it before you hit the limiter, because obviously it redlines at just before 7,000 revs, whereas the GT3's redline at kind of, you know, 8,000 revs, whatever it is. You really need to be quick. By the time you've thought about stamping on the pedal, you need to start thinking about pulling the paddle, because by the time you've even communicated to your hand to pull the paddle, you're at the limiter already. So it is something, it does take some getting used to. I mean, it just flies through the revs so easily. So even then, I thought I was going to catch it, but it literally just flies up to the limiter and you're just gone. Yeah, it takes some getting used to, but it's absolutely hilarious. I had to stop myself from bursting into laughter there like a moron, but as you can hear, it does sound good. This car has been a huge surprise. Do you know what? I was a little bit apprehensive about spending 178 grand on basically a fast 911. I thought, why on earth do I need that? You know, I've got the Pista F12, whatever it is. Why do I need to spend 178 grand on kind of a bit of a sleeper and just a fast 911 when the Carrera 4S, the Carrera S, and the GTS that's coming out, they're all going to be really fast? Why on earth do I need, you know, a 3.8 litre twin turbo, 650 brake horsepower 911? It's just going to be pretty much the same and nothing special, not enough of a jump on. How wrong I was. I recently reviewed the Carrera 2S with an Aero kit on my channel, and I was really relieved to A, enjoy it, but B, definitely notice the difference, a huge difference between that and the Turbo S. Not enough of a difference to render that thing rubbish, but my God, it's just so quick. You've got so much punch in every gear. I really do think cars are way beyond anything we need. I mean, it is hilarious to have something this fast, but you don't need it. You do not need it. You can't really use it. It's fun up to like 40, 50, whatever the speed limit is. And then you can't really push on more than that. I mean, this is a real license loser because it's real world grip and speed wherever you are. The recent trip on the Modball that I was with John Modball, maybe I'll put some footage in now of me and him driving together. Alright, here we go. I found on a lot of the twisties, the back roads, the single track roads, where it got a little bit greasy, a little bit wet, the leaves on there, the camber was off, the occasional pothole. You know, we had an F12 on the trip, a Ventador, a Hurricane, amazing cars, but nobody was kind of getting near me in this because it's got four-wheel drive and it's just so planted. It's got loads of clearance, it's not that wide, it's the vision in it's unbelievable. It was just the best car for the job. Cruising on motorway speeds like now, put it in normal mode, your wing goes down, the exhaust turns off, the revs drop, it puts you in 8th gear, doing like 4 miles an hour. It's great, and you can just waft. You've got Burmester Hi-Fi, which is fantastic. You've got sunroof, you can open it up, you've got an armrest here, you've got the big comfy seats. aircon's amazing, you've got ventilated seats, heated seats. I mean, whatever you want kind of heated up, cooled down, you can do it. It's literally sort of 4 cars in one. It's unbelievable, it really is. And having now had it for a little while, a couple of months, I can see that the price tag is actually justified. You know, you've got literally 4 cars in one. You've got something that can go around a track probably quicker than most things. You've got something you can take your kids to school in. And above all, nobody thinks you're a wally driving one of these. Nobody hates you. Nobody thinks, you know, I got this a lot in the Pista, you know, people look at you and they kind of, you see people muttering under their breath at bus stops. You get outward abuse on the street, people shout at you. You can't leave it parked up for fear of someone flemming on the bonnet. You can't leave it in car parks for fear of someone, you know, knocking into it and taking one of the wing mirrors off, which is like 10 grand. But with this, you really can just drive it around without fear of anyone attacking you. And with the 4-wheel steer as well, it's very, very nimble. Like this little kind of maneuver here, I'm doing kind of a fairly interesting little number here. But you know, I'm not even gonna bother putting lift on. I'm not that bothered. You've got the camera that's amazing, got the aerial view as well. And you can just turn it around in a very, very tight little spot here, through a pothole. No bother whatsoever. And I think it's those kind of little stressful moments that actually really erode at your enjoyment of one of these kind of high-end cars, something like the Pista. And regrettably, I know this is going to be a very, very unpopular opinion, but this car is really making the Pista's position in my garage almost untenable now. In my mind, I'm just thinking, what on earth? We're back into Sport Plus mode. Listen to that, there we go, slight change in tone. It's really making me think, what on earth do I need that car for? It's kind of, I don't know, this thing's kind of shown it up. I know they're so totally different. I don't know if I can justify keeping it much longer. I love this car. I go to it every single time. I don't get in the Pista, I just go for this one because it is just so fun and usable and stress-free on every single level. You can pile miles on this. You know, I could put 10,000 miles in it and it really wouldn't make that much difference to the value of it. It's Porsche, no one cares. Pista, you put 3,000 miles on one, everyone's like, oh, I don't know, mate, it's got a few miles, so I don't know. It might be time for the Pista to go. Very, very unpopular opinion, I suspect there, and I know you lot love it. Well, some of you hate it actually, but maybe it's time for the Pista to go. And if it does, this is the car that will be to blame. So who knows on that front? Who knows, who knows, who knows? One final thing then before I go, and I don't know whether again it's me going mental, but Sport Plus mode and Sport mode, if you put it down to Sport, you get a lot more like crackles and burbles out of the exhaust. It seems to be like almost chav mode. You get like kind of burbles on the overrun. It's not something that I necessarily like in cars, to be fair. I don't like that synthetic burble. Don't know if you can hear it, there's a lot of wind noise. You hear that? You don't get that in Sport Plus mode, you only get it in Sport. So I don't know if Porsche have engineered that in, you know, Sport mode to be a bit more of a kind of oiky mode, driving around town, bothering people kind of mode. Don't know what it is. I tend to have it in normal or Sport Plus, I avoid Sport. The final very boring point then before I disappear and leave you all to get on with your lives. Fuel economy. Oh, lovely stuff. Fuel economy on this thing. I did about 150, 160 quid's worth of fuel, maybe a bit more, all the way up to Edinburgh. Some of it was motorway miles, but actually quite a lot of it was kind of twisties in the Peak District and Lake District and all the rest of it. A lot of the other guys were spending 250 quid plus, you know, in the Aventadors, on all the silly kind of Lambos with their V10s or whatever. This thing seems to be very good on fuel. I mean, I don't know how to work out the exact fuel figure on here, but the MPG seems very, very good. It's got a big tank, but it doesn't seem to do much on fuel if you're driving relatively sensibly. So again, another big tick for the Turbo S. I think that's pretty much all I've got time for now. I'm going to have some more fun in the Turbo S. Hopefully you enjoyed this kind of owner's review and kind of 1 month in, 1,000-mile kind of ownership review here. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you do apply for 2021 Mod Ball. I don't even know if there's any spaces left. Get your applications in anyway. If it's still able to apply on the site, I would advise you get in ASAP. I don't know when this video is going out, so make sure you do that. Do thumbs up, subscribe, comment, blah, blah, blah. I'll see you all very soon. Bye.